The new apartment. Lisa had always been skeptical about ghost stories. She didn't believe in the supernatural, nor did she scare easily. So when she moved into a quaint but affordable apartment in an old Victorian building, she didn't pay much attention to the eerie tales whispered by her neighbors. "It's the mirrors, Mrs. Collins," the elderly woman from next door warned her. "Strange things happen in this place. Don't stare into them for too long." Lisa brushed it off as nothing more than the ramblings of an old woman, but she would soon regret ignoring the warning. The apartment itself was charming, with high ceilings and vintage fixtures. Lisa loved the antique touches, especially the large, ornate mirrors that adorned almost every room. They gave the space a unique character, one that felt both elegant and mysterious. The first few nights were peaceful. Lisa spent her evenings unpacking, watching movies, and enjoying her independence. But as the days passed, the feeling of being watched grew stronger. At first she dismissed it as paranoia, but soon she could no longer ignore the eerie sensation creeping up her spine every time she walked past a mirror. The first glimpse. The first time Lisa noticed something strange, she was getting ready for bed. As she stood in front of the bathroom mirror brushing her teeth, she thought she saw a flicker of movement, just a shadow, shifting unnaturally behind her. She turned abruptly. Nothing. The small bathroom was empty. "It's just my imagination," she muttered, shaking off the uneasy feeling. But something about the way the shadow had moved made her uneasy. It was too deliberate to aware. That night, as she lay in bed, the uneasiness didn't fade. The room was silent except for the occasional creak of the old wooden floors. Lisa kept glancing at the large mirror across from her bed, half expecting to see something lurking within its glassy depths. Eventually, exhaustion overtook her, and she drifted into a restless sleep. The unexplainable signs. Lisa began noticing strange distortions in photos she took at home. Shadows appeared where no one was standing, and sometimes her reflection in the pictures looked slightly different from her actual pose. At first she thought it was a camera glitch, but when she saw herself smiling in a photo where she hadn't been, her blood ran cold. The bathroom mirror became another source of terror. After a hot shower, words would appear in the fog, written as if by an unseen hand. Phrases like "let me in" or "I see you" terrified her. She wiped them away, only for them to reappear the next day. Lisa's dreams became nightmares. She dreamt of a shadowy figure crawling out of the mirror, whispering her name in a voice that sounded eerily like her own. One night, she awoke with a start and found the figure standing at the foot of her bed, staring at her through the darkness. The growing fear. Over the next few days, the occurrences became more frequent. Every time she glanced at a mirror, she felt as though something was watching her. Once, while applying her makeup, she swore she saw a dark figure standing in the reflection of her bedroom mirror. But when she turned, there was nothing there. She convinced herself that stress and lack of sleep were playing tricks on her mind. That was until the whispers began. Lisa would wake in the middle of the night to faint murmurs, barely audible but distinctly there. The sound sent a chill down her spine. It was as if someone, or something, was speaking from within the mirrors. The whispering shadow. Late one night, Lisa awoke to a faint, raspy whisper echoing through her room. The sound was coming from the mirror. Slowly, she turned her head, her heart hammering in her chest. The reflection in the mirror was wrong. Her reflection was standing, but it wasn't moving with her. Lisa froze, her breath hitched. The shadowy figure in the mirror grinned, a twisted, unnatural smile that didn't belong to her own face. The eyes, hollow and lifeless, bore into her soul, sending a wave of sheer terror through her body. She screamed and scrambled to turn on the lights. The moment the room was illuminated, the shadow vanished, leaving only her own terrified reflection staring back. Tears streamed down Lisa's face. She could no longer deny what was happening. Something was in her apartment, something tied to the mirrors, and it wanted her attention. She tried playing music at night to drown out the whispers, but they only grew louder. No matter how much she tried to ignore them, the voices seemed to be calling her, beckoning her to look deeper into the mirror. The desperate search for answers. The next day, Lisa couldn't ignore the truth any longer. She researched the building's history and discovered that a previous tenant, a woman named Eleanor Reese, had died under mysterious circumstances. Some claimed she had been obsessed with mirrors, believing they were a gateway to another world. Lisa dug deeper and found old police reports stating that Eleanor had told her friends she was being watched from the other side. They thought she had gone mad. One night, Eleanor's neighbors heard her screaming. When they forced open the door, they found her lifeless body in front of her mirror, her face frozen in a look of sheer terror. The mirror had shattered into 1,000 pieces. Lisa knew she had to act fast. She decided to cover every mirror in her apartment, hoping it would stop the entity from reaching her. But it didn't stop the whispers. If anything, they became louder, more insistent. The breaking point. Determined to rid herself of whatever presence was haunting her, Lisa called a paranormal expert. The woman, a seasoned investigator, took one look at the apartment and paled. "This is not just a haunting," she whispered. "It's a tethering. The shadow is bound to you now." Lisa's blood ran cold. The investigator advised her to leave immediately, but Lisa hesitated. Could she really abandon her home? Would the entity follow her? That night, Lisa woke up to the sound of glass shattering. Her bathroom mirror had cracked on its own, and in the fragmented reflection, dozens of shadowy figures stared back at her, their hollow eyes filled with malice. Lisa ran. She grabbed her keys, fled her apartment, and never returned. The breaking point. Lisa tried to destroy the mirror. She took a hammer and swung it as hard as she could, expecting it to shatter into 1,000 pieces. Instead, her reflection laughed at her. A cold, damp handprint appeared on the glass. Lisa stumbled back, realizing it wasn't hers. That night, she heard her own voice whispering from the mirror. It mimicked her perfectly at first, then distorted into something guttural and inhuman. Desperate, she reached out to a paranormal investigator. The woman took one look at the apartment and paled. The shadow isn't just in the mirror anymore. It's here. It's with you. Lisa fled. She grabbed her keys, ran out the door, and never returned. The lingering terror. Months later, Lisa was living in a new place, far from that cursed apartment. She had started to move on, convincing herself that whatever had haunted her was left behind. One evening, as she was walking past a store window, she caught her reflection. But it didn't move with her. The twisted smile had returned. Lisa never looked into a mirror again. Is the shadow still watching? This story, though terrifying, leaves an unsettling question. Was the entity truly bound to the apartment, or had it followed Lisa into her new life? Perhaps mirrors are more than just reflections. Maybe they are windows into something far darker, and sometimes something looks back. Thank you guys for watching. If you want more videos like this, make sure to like the video and hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next video.